Okay, so Aaron is a mortgage professional. He helps a lot of my clients that are looking to buy a property and get the mortgage 20% down. And he also does some other type of loans. We'll get into that. But Aaron is more than a mortgage loan officer. He can help people, set out that strategy to get them to where they need to be. So one of the things he did with one of our clients, they didn't have 2 years tax returns, but they had cash. So they bought the house cash. And then once the 2 years tax returns were in, we refinanced, bought another one. Just more innovative thinking. Back to, come on up here, Aaron. Back to, with Jessie is in the business. If I lived in California, I would beg her she would become my CPA. My CPA would not be somebody that's not in the business. How many residential normal mortgages did you do for realtors this past year? Handful?
Maybe 3 or 4.
Right, and then on the flip side, investors.
I do between 600 and 800 transactions a year for real estate investors.
So he's a real estate guy. And if you're looking to invest in real estate, you need to talk to somebody about taking a mortgage. I'm not going to help you there. I'm going to hand you off to the pro. So Aaron, take it away. Tell us about what you do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Again, I'm Aaron Chapman. It's interesting. This was like the first time I've been in a room where I present and I did not have a bunch of people that's ever talked to me before. Because I do 11,000 minutes on this thing every month. I carry 3 headsets. I'm just swapping them out all day long because I run the batteries out.
Oh, you have to keep
Just one of these things where business is ridiculous right now. So as James had indicated, I like to come up, see how many people have ever talked to me on the phone. Of course, in this situation, Don is, I think, the only one I saw with the hand raised up, and we've met face to face. Because typically, I'm not what they're expecting when I walk up and speak in front of the room. I'm like, did I look different on the phone? Most of the time they say I definitely look different on the phone. In fact, I walked up to one client at a tour in Ohio. I recognized her from her picture. She's with the CDC. She writes all these papers on disease. And I saw her walking out, and she's going to the bus. I walked up and said, "Hey, I'm Aaron Chapman." She took a step back. And sometimes the hand goes up, that kind of thing. But it's actually been a huge benefit to me to not look like me. Right? Because who you picture on the phone is not who you end up meeting. And it makes a big difference in our ability to connect. So yes, I do loans. That's how I generate revenue, but that's not my business. How I see you and how I've seen the real estate investor involved. I've been doing this since '97. Focused on real estate investors since 2003. You are all the CEOs of your real estate investment firms. Right? You're starting up a business. When people talk turnkey real estate, they talk about the property, right? It's been acquired, it's been rehabbed, it's been prepared for a tenant, it's been rented out, and now it's yours. That's the turnkey description. Any argument? No. My description is you have a turnkey business. Brandon was up here talking before we talked on the phone probably about 2 years ago. He works with a group that I've been doing business with for about 6 years. They're an organization that I would argue is could be your chief operations officer. James, your senior operations manager in the state of Tennessee. What I mean by that is when you start a business, you need to have 5-6 years capital just so you can survive while you're screwing it up for 3 years before you make a profit, right? Who ever started a business before? Am I wrong? Tomas, we've talked before.
I was a little different. I had to make money.
Exactly. Yours is a little bit different situation. So you know what I'm talking about here. It's this different arrangement here. You don't have to go through the screw-up period. James already did that. Jim already did that. Brandon already did that. He explained it to you. They already saw where the mistakes are. They can guide you around it. You've got an operations division that was created decades ago before you even consider getting in the business, right? So now you don't have to risk going basically without profit for a few years. You're profitable day one. So you have an operations division in place. What I'm applying for right now is your CFO position. Again, my pedigree, I've been doing this since '97, focusing on real estate investors since 2003. I survived through the crash situation, a literal crash. 2008, I was in a motorcycle accident, 82 miles an hour. It took my legs out, crushed my rib cage. I was in a wheelchair for 6 months. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn to do everything again, and yet stayed in this business. It tells a person, for me, I learned a lot about an individual who's still in it after that whole time frame and understanding their story before that. So I bring to you other experience other than just, hey, I can write a loan. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, they've all proven you give a monkey a phone, it can close a loan, right? That's not what this is about. you are stepping into sometimes uncharted territory. You need to have battle-worn veterans on your side to help you walk that treacherous trail. You make one mistake, and you're a statistic like everybody else. Allow us to take the time to sit with you and guide you through that process. So we're going to do a little bit of CEO work at this point. I'm going to have you guys think about a few things here. Brandon was talking about good debt and bad debt. I don't like to use the word debt because that's the problem we have right now in the industry is people look at you, especially on my side, as you're spending money and going into debt, right? So I don't see it that way. You're taking on a business partner. The loan is not debt. Let's talk about the individual who's putting up the money. Who saw The Big Short?
Great.
All right, who is the real estate investor in The Big Short? Who is the character that was the real estate investor?
Well, at one point it's a prostitute with 3 properties.
Stripper, close.
Sorry.
Okay.
That's actually what I
Different neighborhood, different neighborhood. This is Gary Pinkerton. Go ahead and wave your hand, Gary. We came in together. He's my life insurance agent. You got to meet Gary. The guy's ridiculously awesome. He's also got a remarkable pedigree with apparently hookers. And so it was the stripper.
my wife listening.
I'm going to send her the video. I'm not taking him out tonight. So, again, the stripper, right? Of all the people they could have put in that movie to portray you, a real estate investor, they chose a stripper. So what that tells me is that's how you're being looked at from those people who are involved in putting up the money piece of it, right? In the beginning of that movie explained where the money came from. It's all pension funds mostly. Somebody's sitting out there expecting a check every month. Their money was put someplace and it's being invested. And they're expecting a return on investment. Is that wrong for them to expect that? And their expectation is based upon what risk they're putting up. So you're now going to start your business up. You're going to put up 20% of the capital to start your business. How much is your new partner, pensionee, going to put up for you? 80%. So first month, let's take a $100,000 example. We'll use that. In a $100,000 example, is it feasible to think that you can make $250 that first month after paying the payment, the taxes, the insurance, and the property management? Feasible? What did the pensionee make?
4.5.
He didn't make crap. The reason being, they're actually in the hole. Yes, they made actually, they're going to charge you 4.875%, and you're going to be really pissed about that because I know you. I've talked to every single one of you the same. It's like, you guys are trying to hose me. Well, I'm going to tell you how you're screwing them. They're putting up 80% of the capital for your business, but yet after your transaction's closed, it's not done for their end of it. It's done for you, but there's audits that go on. Not only do they audit the money as it comes out and works its way through the funnel from Wall Street to fund your transaction, if they audit for state banking, federal banking, Dodd-Frank, CFPB rules, the Securities and Exchange Commission, then we have that massive instrument that my team put together for you that we send back. They audit the heck out of that. It takes them 60 days to get through it. Take a guess at what the overhead is on that. On the average, $4,000 to $6,000 per transaction. Now, if they're funding a $300,000 loan at 3.25%, how long will it take them to get their say, $5,000 back in interest collected on the $300,000 loan?
5 years.
It's actually 7 months. Now, if that's on a $300,000 loan, but you just bought a house in Memphis for 85 grand, and you put 20% down. So you financed, I'm the money guy, but I'm more of a talker than an addition person. So 60-some thousand bucks. At 4.875%, or 4.99, let's say. How long is it going to take for them to get their 5 grand back on that deal? Gary, you said it. 5 years. So you just made 250 bucks. How much did they make? They're in the hole for how long? Your business partner not only put up the majority of the capital, but he's now in the hole for 5 years. So let me ask the question, who's screwing who? Take advantage of the system that's put in place. People skirt around this thing thinking they're spending money and going into debt. You're not. You're taking on a business partner, and in most situations, you'd have ownership commensurate of your amount of deposit, right? You got 20% deposit, and you keep 100%, and you keep all the profits. And 30 years from now, where's your partner? He's gone. He was paid off by her. You didn't even pay him, and you got to write it off as if you did. So let's talk about the money spent here, because you guys are running pro formas, right? People are running numbers frantically. I've seen people on Bigger Pockets telling me that everybody on Bigger Pockets is getting 14%. It's not a good deal unless I'm getting 14%. I had guys walk away from $300 a month on $60,000 because it wasn't 14%. So it's amazing what is going on out there when they spend all this time and energy in research. Research is killing them. So what you have here, we're going to run that $100,000 number. I'm going to pick somebody. You guys are going to have to do math here. It's simple math. I'm not screwing with you. Most people think I am. So I'm just going to point at somebody, and you're going to throw me a number. So you got a $100,000 purchase, and you're putting 20% down. How much you spending? $20,000. Okay, I say budget $5,000 for your lender fees, title fees, taxes, insurance, inspections, appraisals, surveys if you're in a certain state, all this stuff, $5,000. So between that and the $20,000, how much money are you spending? $25,000. We agree $25,000 is spent? Okay, I'm disagreeing with all of you. You spent $5,000. Because all you did with the 20 is you moved 20 from your liquid account to a non-liquid account, growing at 13.33% per year. Why is it growing at 13.33%? Does anybody know?
Because it's invested in the property.
Because you get the lender's portion of the appreciation.
Exactly, $80,000. It's growing from 20 grand to 100 grand over a 30-year window. Somebody else is paying it down. You're not.
Right.
So that 80 grand after 30 years becomes yours, right? You take the 80 grand, divide it by 30, calculate that into 20 grand. That's 13.33% of the 20 on top of it every year. Pretty smoking deal, right?
Yep.
That would be a good deal if that's all you got, correct? But let's talk about what you spent. You spent $5,000, right? That's gone. It's spent. You'll never see that money again. That's the definition of spent, right? So now you're making $250 a month in the example we talked about. That example is you're paying the property manager, you're paying the payment on the loan, the taxes, the insurance, right? And you're netting $250. So how much time is it going to take to get your $5,000 back? You know the number, Don.
20 months.
20 months. You owe him $1.
Okay.
Or a drink. So 20 months. Did you guys realize that? 20 months, you are now square. You have no money in the deal. 20 months is all it is. Now, we got 340 months left in this example. How much money are you going to make on that 250 over the next 340? Anybody who's got it can scream it out.
2 times 600,000.
You're an aggressive sucker. See, I want you to be that excited about when I do the loan for you. 85,000 bucks. So you're close. 600,000, 85 grand, pretty close. So $85,000 what you made by putting 5,000 in and getting it back in 20 months. 85 here, 80 over here. So how much is that?
165.
165. Now, what have I not accounted for?
Appreciation.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to take these off the table. Appreciation, tax benefits, and rent raises, those are off the table. Because those are benefits that we're not even going to get into. But what did I miss?
Rent. You already said.
Vacancy and maintenance, right? I'm giving you $250 a month, but I'm not taking vacancy and maintenance into appreciation. I mean, into account here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take a little bit of an aggressive approach here. I'm going to tell Jim Reedy and James and the other real estate guys here to plug their ears. I'm not going to say, don't look at your pro forma. I'm going to say, take the maintenance and the vacancy. Let's say it's 40% of the purchase price over a 30-year window. It's a little bit ridiculous. Every real estate guy freaks out when I say that, but that's what it's there for, is to freak them out. So take that $40,000, that's 40% of the purchase price, to maintain that property over 30 years. Is that very, very reasonable? Mm-hmm. Back that out of the 165 that you made, and where are you still at? $125,000 still, and you didn't spend anything. You got paid back. You still have rent raises in there. You still have appreciation. You still have tax benefits that were not taken into consideration. Tell me where the downside's at. Does spending the next 2-3 weeks interviewing lenders make any sense to you when you think about it that way? I get when you're running a pro forma, that fraction of a percent is a big damn deal because you spent the last 6 weekends on Bigger Pockets. I get it. But when you look at the reality of it, you're missing out on a lot of huge opportunity when you spend too much time checking out the little infinitesimal numbers. The business that I do is I spend the time helping you structure your business. Again, I'm trying to take a CFO spot. I'm not trying to do a loan spot. I do the loan spot so I don't have to charge you $300 an hour to talk to you. That way we generate revenue. I have my staff has a job, but for the most part, we're here to make sure that you feel confident going into the real estate investment business. That when you start down step number 1, that you feel like you can make it to that last finish line. I've been fighting this business for, like I said, nearly 20 years. I've got certain goals that I've written down, visions that I've placed, and I've seen certain things accomplished. And by damn it, I'm gonna cross that finish line bruised, bloody, and missing limbs if I have to. And I pray that I can drag you guys with me. Some of the things that I've learned in this whole process working with people is I've started to understand some of the principles that we've been taught since we were children, but we didn't figure out how to apply them. Who remembers The Secret? Everybody was read the book, listened to the tape, watched the little movies and the YouTube stuff, talked about attitude of gratitude. Did you ever see anything that tells you what the practical application of that was? Does anybody understand why it works? You just hear the universe delivers, right? Recently, I was sitting in an event where the speaker said you don't leave your bed until you figure out 3 new things to be grateful for. Well, after about 3 days, you're kind of running out. And I was like, I can't sit in bed all day long. I got to go. So I had to come up with something, right? And I had to figure out, okay, this whole gratitude thing, there's something about it. And I found an opportunity to understand gratitude a little bit better. And this I want to share with you as your potential CFO. I had a newer employee. She was 6 months in the industry, doing a very, very, very good job. She come from loss mitigation with Wells Fargo. I had her doing some other things on my team. I got 11 team members. She was doing an awesome job, so I wanted to reward her. I checked out online to see what the average increase in pay was for a wage earner. Does anybody know what that is?
25 cents.
2%. 2 to 3% is the average, dead on. I checked it out, and I'm like, that's not, to me, she deserved more. So I negotiated with the firm. I negotiated with my, with the senior vice president all the way up to just short of the CEO to get her a 10% bump. So I thought she deserved it. I had control of her bonus, so I had allocated enough to be able to give her a 30% bump in bonus. I was damned excited to sit down with her and have her come in, do her little review, and hand that to her. Now, she was very young, millennial, and I wanted to show that, hey, you're putting in the effort, you're going to get the reward. So as she's sitting in, we talked about her performance. Now put yourself in this position. Again, you're CEO now. This is my business I was talking about. This is your business now. Put you in the position across from this person. And you handed her this package that you fought your guts out for the last 3 weeks to get somebody to approve. You couldn't wait to get her reaction. And she looks at you with this look of disdain. It's like, that's it? What's your gut response? Not your head. I want your gut response. Yeah. You ungrateful little, fill it in, right? Not only did I want to take the raise from her, but I wanted the job. Clean out your desk. And by the way, you might as well just leave your car keys too, because I'm that pissed. But my head prevailed, and I talked myself through it. I turned it into a coaching opportunity. Since then, she left and went on to other things because it just created this issue between us. Well, later that same week, I'm exiting the freeway, getting ready to go to my office, and there's a guy standing on the corner with a cardboard sign. We all know the picture, right? But you can tell this guy was definitely down on his luck. He was in real bad shape. I keep cash in my truck because of some bad things that happened early in my life. Just because my card wouldn't work one time, I had to get home across town, and I had to dig around my truck till I found enough coins to be able to get enough gas to get home to my wife and child. So now I keep cash in the truck, hidden, and I pulled what was there. There was one bill folded up. I rolled down the window and I held it out. He walked up, he took the bill from me, he started to walk away, and he opens it up, and then he stops. He looks back at me and goes, "Are you serious, man?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "This is 20 bucks. I said, "Yeah, it's cool, it's yours." Had my arm up like this on the window. He walks up and takes my hand, pulls it towards him, bows his head, and audibly says a prayer of thanks and a blessing on me. With tears streaming down his cheeks, he looks at me and thanks me profusely because he needed that so badly. Even now it hits me. And at that point, I'm like, "Dude, you got to square because I'll swipe my card." You know, I would have given him willingly anything I had, but that was all the cash I had on me. I handed him a bottle of water that I had in the truck, and I drove on. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. Gratitude. If you are not grateful for the smallest thing, all can be taken from you. when you show gratitude for the smallest thing, more gets poured upon you, or at least the wish of more to be poured upon you. And then I remember what I was told, to not leave my bed unless I had 3 new things to be grateful for. Every day I get at least 24 names referred to me from at least a half a dozen people. Every single one of those names goes down on a piece of paper. Every single one of those names is prayed over, because I'm grateful for them. There's people in this room that I've done that for. And since I implemented that, my business I got an award for it going up 3,000%. The concept is real. What we've been taught since we were children is real. You need to be grateful for the people you've been blessed to sit in this room with. People that are very interested in seeing you succeed. Your business has huge potential if you surround yourself with the people who have interest in you, not in themselves. I'll just leave that with you guys, and we'll talk later. Thank you.
Keep talking, Aaron.
So no, it's not all I got. I could go on for days.
Question
Fire away.
some people have is, if you're just starting out, and they've decided they want to invest in real estate in Memphis, where do they need to start? What's their number one thing after they've kind of picked out a market?
Well,
What are they doing? Yeah.
initially, it's just like we talked earlier, find your people. Find those who you want to work with, those who you trust, that's going to ensure that you make it where you want to go, right? So what I found in the industry is I get heavily audited, right? Because according to Fannie Mae, I'm licensed in 23 states. So that means I'm going to strip clubs in 23 different places. For some reason, I like girls in the South. It's just one of those things. And that's why they're looking at me as so closely as they do. And I'm trying to explain to them, say, guys, understand that I'm not, I know that you're fraud adverse, and you feel that if somebody's buying a piece of real estate from somebody, and then that same person somehow is attached to the management of it, that there's maybe something funky going on here, you need to understand that that's actually a benefit to you. My thought process is that I have to ensure that not only you as the buyer make out well on the deal, that the seller makes out well, that the property manager makes out well, that the agent who represents you makes out well, and that the insurance company does well, and that Fannie Mae does well before I do, because if I don't do that, the entire wheel collapses. I see myself as the hub of that wheel, and every single one of those is a very important spoke. And the most important spoke in that wheel for me is Fannie Mae. So why am I going to crucify them? Right? So I need to help them. I'm trying to help them understand that having the seller still involved not only ensures that the asset is protected, because that means they did a good job on the rehab, right? Because they're still going to be around. You're going to be calling them up if something's not working. But it also gives them a little bit different perspective of, if you're selling to a homeowner that's going to buy the house and live in it, you only have one person feeling a sense of responsibility to make that payment, right? Now, if James is buying a property to rent out, and he's got Jim back there doing the management of it, and we have Gary renting it, you now have 3 people that have a sense of responsibility to ensure that Fannie Mae gets paid. Gary's going to pay the rent, because he's got to keep the rain off of his head. He wants to continue to make the payment on the property because he wants that cash flow. And Jim wants to make sure that he still has a revenue coming in from the property management, so he's going to ensure he's paying him. So tell me where the risk is not actually minimized there. So I'm actually right now working on trying to get face-to-face with somebody over there. My president of the company was in my office on Tuesday, and he's been in communication with them. I said, dude, put me in a 10x10 with one of those sumbitches with a bow on his head, and I'll fix the problem. I just need some time. And I don't know if he's going to do that way, but I'm going to see if he can pull it off.
All right, so I just wanted to show you a taste of the new construction. We're actually going to get to see one tomorrow, but a lot of investors are so interested in that. So Aaron, I was going to grab a pro forma on it and just talk about the financing that would be involved. So this one,
Just after I got done trashing pro formas.
that's right. So if this is our snapshot.
You want me to just rip the sucker up? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah. So 4853 Bloomfield, this house isn't built yet. So 5 months from now, we'd be closing. When could we
Okay.
lock the rate in?
We have a 45-day window we look at, but I don't like to lock just because we have 45 days left. I watch the market. It trades minute by minute. So I'm constantly watching what's going on there. I got 3 screens up. I need 5 more. I'd love to have a panoramic view. And I've got those trades. I'm watching what the stock market is doing versus the mortgage-backed securities market. We try and pick a good time during your window of construction. So sorry, I can't answer your question directly, but
This 45 days is the max.
45 days is our max period that I like to work within.
It's a question I get a lot. So, hey, this house isn't going to be ready for a while. I don't know what interest rates will be then. So that's why I brought it up.
Well, let me ask this question. Look at the turmoil that's going on in the world right now. Do we really think interest rates are anything to be freaked out about right yet? They stay low when you're talking about a market that's struggling. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you're thinking rate.
Right. So, sorry, I took a break for a second, but did you go over how many homes you can have 20% down?
I did not.
So
So
this pro forma is based on 20% down.
we can do 20% down on 10 finance properties.
So explain, I have a personal residence and one other.
Actually, I can do 20% down on limited now. It's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. So Fannie Mae came out a year ago saying that they'll do 10%. They just actually snuck the rule out of the guideline, where it used to be up to 4 finance properties, 20% down, then 25 on up. Well, they snuck it out, and we caught it, so I started testing it a year ago, and I've been doing it for over a year.
So you can do more than 10 now?
I can do more than 10, but now that's not a Fannie anymore. Once we get to 10, it's no longer Fannie. I do have a source right now. Let me do 20% down. It's in the 6s. But we have that capability. If it's a sexy enough deal, it's also got a really cool feature in it that if we can't use your income for some reason, because you're self-employed and you've got a really good CPA, we'll go off the rents of the property solely, and they bump it up to like 6 7/8 if it's a $200,000 loan. If it's 100 above, it's just over. It's about 7 3/4. But so there's now options, and that's an unlimited. We have one guy that did 100 houses.
Wow. So I had a client bragging on you not long ago, and they said, did you know that he was able to take my rental income and put it towards my debt to income and all those things? Probably don't know who I'm talking about, but
Yeah, because we do it a lot. So what I was talking about before, banks and consumers look at this, you're spending money going into debt, right? So they're going to take the fact that you have a $650 a month payment, they're going to add that to your debt load and see if you qualify. Now, that is a very traditional thought process. How we look at it, and the reason I'm with this particular firm, is that if I've got, say, one of these particular houses that's renting for $1,000 a month, I can take that $1,000, I discount it by 25% because of maintenance and vacancy. We take the $750, we back the $650 out of that. We don't put that $650 on your debt schedule. We just give you the $100. So your debt to income ratio continues to go down. So if you can already afford your cost of living, if your debt to income ratio is already solid, you continue to qualify in perpetuity with us. It's just a matter of you not changing things, right? So if somebody says, how good is my pre-qual for? I said, as long as you keep your situation the same. Well, this guy says it's good for 30 days. Well, if you go buy a fleet of Ferraris tomorrow, his 30-day commitment is crap. As long as your situation stays the same, you continue to qualify. Just don't become super investor and buy a fleet of Ferraris.
Work with multifamily?
I do work with multifamily up to the 4 finance properties for Fannie, and then I do have a commercial source that I've worked with that does the apartment stuff. I find that I can only be sexy at a few things, so I have to farm that out to other people.
what about portfolio loans?
We do have portfolio loans. There was the when we talked about just a minute ago, the 20% down. If we do foreign national stuff, I can do it's 35% down. 7.99. So there's a lot of stuff. And if you're talking portfolio in the sense of blanket loans that covers multiple properties, that exists out there, but I don't advocate them because they're charging like 9.5% right now, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, to break it down for everybody, a portfolio loan, if you came to me and said, James, I want to do those, I'll take 5. So what would that look like? And we want to do it as they already have Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac maxed out, or
In
not
that,
maxed out.
if it's maxed out at, if you got your 10 finance properties, we go into the other, putting 20% down at, say 6.875%. Again, it depends upon loan amount. They're really picky about loan amounts. It's got to be $100,000 and above, and we have to run the numbers on that one with your credit score per home. It'd be per transaction. They charge 3 points. So it's actually pretty soft money when you consider that. Most of the time, you have to go to hard money, and that's dark corner, 12%, 10 points. Actually, they call it a VIG. That kind of thing. So you're not going down that path anymore. There's a lot more freed up funds now.
That's after 10 homes?
That's after 10. Yes.
What about from 1 to 10?
1 to 10, 20% down, 4.99% right now. I think it's even getting closer to 4.875 since they're considering impeaching the president. So that affected the interest rates a little bit. You know, it's interesting. I mean, the mortgage-backed security spiked that day, and we got just a little bit better. So in this particular market, remember we talked about where your money's coming from? And since if you're going into a market where the loan amount's going below 100,000, they're going to bump your rate a little bit, maybe an eighth, maybe a quarter, because they're in the hole, right? They got to collect somehow.
What if you're buying 10 at once? Let's say your first purchase is 10 in a portfolio, would they still look at that as every house has to be 100 grand and more?
That's a whole different product. If you're trying to do a portfolio, do all of them into one loan is what you're saying?
Well, or whatever the strategy would be.
In that particular strategy, that's like 9.5%. So I don't even sell those anymore. But if you're trying to do 10 homes and you say, hey, I've got one that's 80 and I got all these others that are 120 above, they're still going to pitch the 80. Because they're saying they're going to a source that wants $100,000 and higher, period. Minimum on any property. And so that's a $125,000 purchase price, $100,000 loan amount. Those are your minimums.
So you have more sources than just the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac.
More sources, just the Fannie and Freddie. But we want to use up the Fannie and Freddie as much as we can up front. So that's going to be your best deals. Come on, 4.99% for 30 years. Why would you not want to dive all over that? Now, one other sexy thing that's coming out. Last year, I had the occasion to talk with the consultant who had sat with Fannie Mae's, I guess, their higher ups on 3 occasions at their request. He is a hard money lender, been doing it for 35 years. And he's never had a default. It's a big deal to not have a default in 35 years lending only to investors. He's consulting with them on how to expand their guidelines to be able to take on 25 finance properties for an investor. So that's in the works right now. He said, wait till end of fourth quarter this year before I got any news on it. So when that comes out, if I've got your email address, expect one big nasty email about that because we want to dive on as quickly as we can. One thing about the firm I'm with, we have embraced everything for every change that Fannie Mae has made immediately when they've made it. Every single one of my competitors, they wait 6, 8, 10 months to see how it plays out before they integrate it. So we're going to start eating out of their dog dish as soon as we possibly can.